Mode.
Good morning. Welcome to the January edition of the Kauffman FastTrac Author Series. Welcome to 2014 as well. This is Alana Mueller. I'm the president of Kauffman FastTrac, and it's a pleasure to have you all here this morning. If you would, please join me in welcoming my friend and mentor, Barnett Helzberg Jr. Barnett is the former chairman of the board of Helzberg Diamonds, a company his father founded in 1915, which Barnett expanded from 15 units in 1962 to become the third largest jewelry retailer in 23 states. Always an entrepreneur, Barnett is the recent founder of another company, phonyinvoices.com, which I would encourage you to go check out. In addition to his entrepreneurial endeavors, Barnett is an educator, a philanthropist, and an author of several books, including What I Learned Before I Sold to Warren Buffett. For our purposes today, he is the author of a book, Entrepreneurs plus Mentors Equals Success, which tells the stories of participants of the Helzberg Entrepreneurial Mentoring Program, an organization he founded to help entrepreneurs succeed. He's joined today by two Helzberg Entrepreneurial mentees, Laura Laban, founder of the Culinary Center of Kansas City, and Gary Short, founder of Systech Companies. Both have been extremely successful, not only in their businesses, but also as mentees and mentors for others. I welcome all three of you to the Kauffman FastTrac Author Series. Barnett, I'll turn it over to you for now.
Well, we had an idea 18 years ago, 19 years this spring, that there were a lot of organizations helping startups, and there were organizations helping large companies, and that in between there was an opportunity to help people with $1 million volume, 5 employees that were in that spot, and there was kind of a void. One of my mentors was Ewan Kauffman, and he, thanking him one day, said, "That's okay, someday you'll help someone." And I think that was the germ of the hemp organization. In 1995, in June, just after the company was sold, we had a group of Kansas City leaders, businessmen, including Henry Block and other well-known people, in our basement of our home. My wife calls it the lower level. Anyway, all but one agreed to be mentors, and then we recruited mentees that fit these guidelines. We felt that if you want to be everything to everybody, you aren't anything to anybody. So we needed to have a commonality. It's not a method of snobism, it's a method of homogeneity. So they have some very common problems. So we set up these, and they're guidelines, they're not strict. We use some judgment. The million volume, 5 or more employees, obviously a record of integrity inside and outside the business. And we do checking, diligence, 3 or more years in business, 3 or more years as the ultimate decision maker. We say reasonable financials, which Gary Short is going to veto that and tell his story. So we're not always so good on that, but we've helped some people. And a desire to grow the business. A lot of this is based on mistakes we made or errors in initial startup, like any startup. And we've learned to perfect it, and every year we try to improve. So we've learned some things about who are the right people and get people that are mentorable. And that's not a criticism, but some people don't need it, don't want it, and it's not going to help them. And we feel our mentors are very valuable resources, so we try to be careful to get mentorable mentees to join every year. One mentee came to me a few years ago and said, it took me a year to really understand this thing. Of course, that was pretty upsetting. So we changed things a little, and now we start with a SWOT analysis from the mentee of their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and their threats, which gives the mentor an immediate focus on what's going on. We suggest meetings treat only 2 or 3 subjects and get them in depth, not try to cover everything at each meeting. We have a rule, really 2 rules that go hand in hand. One is the opposite of what your parents might have told you. Put your worst foot forward. I can't tell you which tooth hurts when I go to the dentist. You go to the dentist, you have to tell them. But hand in hand with that must go a pledge of absolute confidentiality. I don't know of one violation of that in our almost 19 years of history, but that's very important because obviously if you can't share, and I can look at myself and where I didn't share, it really was costly and painful for the company. We suggest regularly scheduled meetings so you aren't playing telephone tag and trying to reschedule it like every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. We feel the mentor feedback is very important. I just learned last year how valuable having a mentee is to these mentors. It's been a wonderful thing for them, but the reward is the feedback. Not that everything worked, just feedback. We discussed it, we're not going to do it, here's why. We tried this, it worked, thank you. We tried this, it didn't work, thank you. But quick, prompt feedback. And what I've found is, again, recently, is how priceless these relationships have been to mentors. So it's been a great experience from both directions. Actually, we set this up when we started and really hasn't changed much, but it kind of tells you what a good mentor tries to be and what a good mentee strives to be. I'm often asked, well, how do I get a mentor? Well, number one, don't use the word mentor. It's too scary. It sounds like too much of a commitment. What I've suggested to people, and everybody has their own way, you just call someone and say, I really admire what you've done. I've got a new business. If I could talk to you for 15 minutes, I'd really appreciate it. It's very flattering. No, nobody was a bigger businessman in town than Mr. Kauffman, and he really enjoyed it. But every year he would say to me, do you know why I keep working with you? Why? Because you do some of these things. So you have to make it valuable for the mentor.
Do you ever feel, Barnett, that have you ever heard a mentor say that they didn't get as much out of the relationship as the mentee received? If not more?
Not really, no.
So everybody has found value in
that? Well, they've claimed, yes. They've really enjoyed it. And I mean, some retired people that I really kind of heard third hand at our gym were kind of lost. Very, very capable, high-level executive, and just like made his life since he's retired.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. For everybody on our call this morning, I do want to let you know that these slides will be available. So especially, I would encourage everybody to make a copy of this list and really keep it handy, both for yourself as a mentor and then sometimes as a mentee. So we'll move on now. Barnett, talk a little bit about where people can get the book and why you would encourage them to do so.
Well, it's at Rainy Day Books. It's at Amazon. It's at Barnes & Noble. It's at the kansascitystore.com. The price ranges from $14.95 to 99 cents. maybe even to free in some cases. This was published not for a profit, for spreading the gospel about these incredible, non-polluting, renewable resources we call mentors. And it's such an incredible area for mentees and mentors, and it's just out there to help you. And it's all plus, it's all profit. It's frankly too good to be true.
Well, and I have to reiterate, for those of you on the call, if you've not yet purchased the book, the download of the book is 99 cents on Amazon. So I would encourage everybody to invest the dollar. You'll even get a penny back. Invest the dollar to take a look at this. I think the stories are really amazing, which actually is a great segue. As I mentioned, the format of this particular session is a little bit different. We are really so fortunate to have two people who have had the benefit of going through the Helzberg Entrepreneurial Mentoring Program, Laura Laban and Gary Short. And so I'd love to hear from the two of you. Maybe a little bit, if you could describe your company and talk a little bit about the role that mentorship played in growing your businesses to what they are today. Laura, in fact, I heard you say you've had your best year ever in 2013.
That's true. 2013 has been our best year ever. And first of all, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. It's always my pleasure. I am a recovering attorney. I always start my shtick with that. I love the practice of law, but I am one of those people, and I found this out since I've been with him, that I had those entrepreneurial cells in my body. And those entrepreneurial cells really are the ones that say, I am more afraid of not trying than I am of failing. That's how you know if you're an entrepreneur. And I can almost see the heads nodding out there in radio land here. But I started as a mentee in 2003. One of the mentors at that time nominated me, actually called and said, you need to do this. So I applied. And the biggest hurdle for me was to make myself mentorable. As an attorney, I was always the one that was supposed to know all the answers. So what I did was I got rid of all my boards, and at that time I was no longer practicing law. I have to say that. I had already started the Culinary Center. And I had to kind of let go of the fact that I can't do it alone, and that I didn't know all the answers, and there were a lot of folks there that could help me. So I started in 2003 as a mentee, which makes me 10 years now. And since that time, I've served on the mentee committee, so I've gotten to review and take a look at and interview a lot of folks and a lot of businesses. So I've learned a lot along the way. Mentoring, I think a little bit about my story, but not a lot, is that I was probably about 5 or 6 years into my business when I was sitting in my office one day, and one of our employees came in and said, and he's very soft-spoken, he said, there's black smoke coming in through the walls. And so we thought it was funny, you know, and we got up, and all of a sudden he goes, you might want to get your purse. So anyway, to fast forward to within 8 hours or so, I had one of the hemp folks there with their master construction manager to help me decide whether my building was able to be salvaged. It was an amazing support. Actually, that started kind of the years of what I call the dark years. We were about 5, 6 years, and that whenever I went through that whole experience with the fire, I discovered that a very important person to me personally had betrayed me financially. And it wasn't until the fire that I would have found that out. So enter another hemp experience for me, and that was that my mentor at the time, Grant Burcham with Missouri Bank, I was in his office within 30 minutes with a $50,000 line of credit and a credit report out there. So it was an amazing time. So anyway, with the help of not just my mentors, and this is one thing that I wanted to say as well, that I really do think it takes a village. It takes a village of mentors. A lot of people get stuck and think that it's only one. And it is very important that you have different kinds of mentors. And also the qualities of a mentor are really that of a broker, the way I see it. They should be able to listen to you, not answer, they're not going to know all your answers, but they can use what knowledge they have as a mentor and their experience to find other people who can help you. that has been an enlightening thing for me as well. I guess I didn't say what the business did. The Culinary Center is, we've been in business now 16 years, and we offer about 650 cooking classes each year. We are a culinary arts center in downtown Overland Park, Kansas. And we also do quite a bit of team building and interactive events. We have a Junior Chefs Academy, a Midwest Barbecue Institute, a Cookwell corporate wellness program, and lots of other things. But there's a segue here, and that's why I tell you about the business, is that through my years with hemp, I've been able to watch people be mentored, and I've watched how this organization is run, and I know how Barnett gives back. I've watched other people give back, and as a result of the dark years and the recession, which was included in there as well, we created a new team building model, an interactive model called All Hands for Hunger, and it has single-handedly launched my personal strong feelings about social entrepreneurship. And so now, as a result, every single thing we do, we look for the ways we can give back as we do it. All Hands for Hunger is basically an activity where corporations or families or organizations can come in and cook for organizations here, charitable organizations. We know what they need, we know what their food needs are, and they get to package it and deliver it if they like, and they get to learn how to cook, and they get to eat, and sometimes drink. So that is really a really short version of my journey with Helzberg, and I have been, my biggest surprise in this whole process is how willing people have been to be mentors. And as a result, I find myself, I don't know if it's a function of age and experience, but I find myself almost feeling an obligation to mentor back, not because I know more, but because I feel that I've had experience that people could benefit from, and they might not have to jump those hurdles that I did.
Well, and I have to say that comment is music to my ears. I mean, my personal passion is all around networking and the personal relationships that we build. And like you're describing, I found that when I began networking intentionally, really asking people to connect with me, nobody said no. Everybody said yes.
Make the ask.
The most difficult part of that transaction was finding a time to meet, truly. And I always have found that there's so much value that we create together, even if we don't know why we're getting together. So I love that you're describing mentoring in that same way. It's all about the human connection.
I have to say, we debate this in hemp all the time. Are we building the business, or are we building the business owner? And I am a strong proponent. I'm always the one that says we're building a business owner first, because the business will follow. And, you know, it's a balance, no doubt. But I really have this really strong feeling because of what I do in my business now, and adding to that the attorney aspect of it. I believe that it is always about the relationship. It is about what happens around a table in terms of relationship in my business. It's what happens with those folks that you trust and that you gain their trust.
Lovely.
You know, with something that comes to mind, it's a little bit of a segue off of that, but we are seeing certainly a trend toward older individuals getting into entrepreneurship. And, you know, the baby boomer generation, and for a variety of reasons. Oftentimes, the networking component, the community component is a challenge for them. What recommendations, if any, would you have for the need or the ability of them to work in finding mentors or mentoring relationship?
Well, you know, it's people think, it's kind of funny, when I started, I didn't want to bother my mentee because I thought, God, he's in retail. He's too busy. And he didn't want to call me. I think we all have kind of a timidity, or, you know, I don't want to call Laura, she's a big shot. She's got a neat business. I don't want to bother her and all that. The worst they can say is no. And if you're an entrepreneur, we have at least one. He applied 3 times. Well, he's an entrepreneur. He never gave up.
Good for him.
Good.
Entrepreneurs don't have enough sense to give up. And they even like beginners who tell them, you're nuts. Somebody told me the other day, they said, if you tell your idea to a bunch of people, nobody says, that's stupid, go run the other way. And we just started a business called phonyinvoices.com, and some people told me it was the dumbest thing they ever heard. Well, we're not in the black yet, but we're rolling.
Sure.
And so I think you have to accept rejection.
Sure.
Part of life, part of selling, part of everything. So
There has to be chemistry too.
yeah,
You may
right.
have coffee with someone and really
Right.
realize that you're not on the same page, and keep going till you find the chemistry.
Exactly.
We even call the process of putting mentors with mentees at HEM a dating. We call it what do you call it? Speed dating, where you can say, and you should do this with your employees too. If in 30 days I don't like the way you part your hair, or you don't like the way I part my hair, then let's call it a day. It's not right.
Sure.
Yeah, that's good.
Good point.
Gary, talk a little bit about your business and how you discovered hemp and what that meant to you personally and to your business.
Sure. I always call being an entrepreneur a curse. I don't think anyone actually would do it unless, like Warren Am said, you had these things in you that made it happen. I mean, it's really more the fear of not trying than the fear of failing that probably makes you do it. And when I was a little boy and people asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up, my answer was I was going to own my own business. So that was my answer. So I was always going to do that at a very young age. It was just something I always wanted to do. I found engineering and fell in love with it, and eventually opened up my own firm in 1995. And actually, the first 5 years of owning the firm were really easy. I thought everybody should own one. I thought, wow, this is neat. Everybody should have one of these. And then the reality came in of actually growing the business, and because I didn't have any really business skills per se, I was good at what I did, but I really didn't know how to grow a business or how to take care of staff or any of those things. I had none of that knowledge whatsoever. And just as fast as I can grow a business in 5 years, I pretty much destroyed it in the next 5. And so when I was really looking for a mentor, I didn't even know I was looking for one. I knew I needed help. That I did know. And it's kind of funny because my assistant at the time told me about the Helzberg program. And so, she goes, maybe it's something you should try. I said, well, I need, at this point, I need to try anything. So they have this application, and in the application, they tell you to be honest, right? So I was honest. And I pretty much figured that'd take care of it.
You got, surely they won't accept me now.
Lo and behold, he second guessed the whole organization.
Next thing I know, they call out when they want to come out and visit. I said, okay.
I was on that visit, by the way.
Were you really?
I was on the mentee committee.
Yeah. So they come in to visit, and I was 100% honest. Yeah. And I told them everything. I said, I had business going really well. I pretty much, I think, single-handedly destroyed the thing. I need help. I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing back on track and get going. And pretty much thought that, okay, well, nice group of people, and that would be the last I saw of them. And I will be sent me a letter accepting me. I called them up.
I still couldn't believe it.
Nice group of people. Are you sure that you've made the correct mistake? I don't know if I'm going to be in business long enough to get a mentor. They convinced me to stick in there, and it was. I tell you the truth, it was the greatest thing that probably ever happened to me. It was the first time I ever had anyone that I could actually. Because I grew up in the inner city, no father, nothing. So this is the first time I had anybody even, that I could talk to who didn't want anything from me. Just wanted to help. It's like, no kidding. It's all you want to do is help. What's in it for you?
Were you skeptical? I mean,
I was. What's in it for them?
And how long did it take you to overcome that
Not
feeling?
long with Mr. Pittman. My mentor was Ray, and Ray is one of the oldest mentors, and he gets right to it pretty quick. And so I knew he was the real deal. And he said, yeah, Gary, we're going to meet every Monday morning at 7 o'clock for the next 3 years. And we did. We met every Monday morning at 7 o'clock for the next 3 years. And and not only did we work on the business, but we worked on me. We have a relationship where we can talk about anything and everything. But, you know, we definitely spend time on the business. You know, he's real big in organizational charts and stuff like that. So we'd run through and do the various things. And you know, he taught me to, you know, I didn't have to be the smartest guy in the room. You know, hire those people. You know, hire those people that know how to do accounting, and know how to manage people, and know how to do these things. Hire these people. You know, you don't have to be that person. So he gave me a lot, and you know, really the overall of what was part of hemp. And then the hemp program itself, you know, we have 6 to 8 programs a year. We have a program, in fact, this morning going on. It's a 4-hour program teaching us, you know, how to, you know, make more out of our businesses. So these experts come in and provide their expertise, you know, and share it with us. And so, you know, all those things are what Barnett calls pearls. You know, you go to meetings and you find the pearls.
Right.
You know, and you can't find the pearls without just being totally honest. You know, and I'm proof of that. You know, the joke is that I was really out of business, but the only reason I kept coming to work is because I didn't know how to read the accounting.
I think there are probably a lot
That's
of
great. No
entrepreneurs
doubt.
who can say that.
We see that frequently. We really do.
I want to go back to this list, and especially you talk about pearls, Gary, and of course that had to come from the jewelry guy, right? Barnett, I want to ask you a question. You know, I personally, though I'm not part of the Helzberg program formally, I think of you as not only a friend but a mentor, and I think that you and I have developed a relationship like that. You seem to have a full string of pearls when it comes to the skills required of a mentor. Do you feel that you've always had those kinds of skills? How did you develop a proficiency in order to be able to claim to be a mentor?
This is really embarrassing. I have disqualified myself as a mentor. My last experience, I just was too tough on the poor guy. And I thought, wait a minute, you started this thing because you're a mentee. That's what you are. You're not a mentor. In fact, starting this new business, I'm sitting by one of our very, very capable mentors at the meeting. And I'm already started asking him questions today. And he said, well, we need to have lunch. So I'm really a mentee. I'm not a mentor. Thank you for calling me one. But
He's also humble. Can I just say that?
Yeah.
But it's like Winston Churchill said about some guy. They asked him about, I think, Clement Attlee. They said he's a very humble man. And Churchill said, well, he's got a lot to be humble about. So I put myself in that group. But I really enjoy getting other people to talk, and you don't learn much by talking, and I talk too much a lot of times. But I just really enjoy it, and it's so interesting because they see things in a different light. We've all had a different history and all that, and that's what I really enjoy about it. And of course, I enjoy the success of Laura and Gary because I love Gary's story. He didn't know he was out of business because he didn't know accounting. And anyway, it's just been for me to hang out with these people has been great. And maybe somebody who's listening will be inspired. We do not expand. We'll help other people if they want to start. But we have no ego thing about expanding, and I never have. Why? Because I think it's kind of like, yes, we had a lot of jewelry stores, but I always thought, well, if you had one jewelry store and just stuck with it, what's the potential? So what's the potential of hemp to be better and better and better, and not get into, I'm kind of a one-trick pony, not get into expanding and all this. How can we give our mentees and mentors better and better services every year instead of getting caught up in other things.
Yeah.
So,
You know, most of the folks out that are listening right now are entrepreneurs, my guess is, or want to be. And really, I think the most important thing that we've discovered, and I personally have discovered, is that it is not about, you know, what we do in hemp and what they can do themselves, whether they're in this organization or not, is pull back the curtain, you know, Wizard of Oz. It is just a guy. It's just a guy behind the curtain, you know, and that's what all of us are when we get right down to it and we draw back our own curtains and we put our first foot forward. All of those, that's been really good for me to learn, is that every single person I've talked to has the same or similar issues that I do. I'm not alone. And so don't think of yourself as alone. You know, one of my biggest challenges is asking for help. It's always been asking for help. You know, you got to get over that too.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, we have a lot of our entrepreneurs are certainly new to entrepreneurship. And they're new to the kind of the concept of stepping out of the confines of what they know, and looking at themselves as entrepreneurs first of all, and thinking about themselves as entrepreneurs. So when we start talking about building communities and networking, and even this subject around mentorship, they don't really know where to get started and how to get started. They're not at the level where they'd be, you know, could come to a hemp type of thing, but they still need guidance and they still need support.
yeah, I want to talk about that, because as a mentee, what you need to do, you know, you say listening, what's that mean? It means, and you can download my old book, which is called What I Learned Before I Sold to Warren Buffett. There's something called the 7, I don't know, there's these things that'll just stop things from happening. And if you go to your prospective mentor and they bring something up and you say, well, we tried it once, didn't work. Just listen, try to listen. And I have trouble with that. I actually have a technique. I put my hand over my mouth. I teach, and one of my students told me put a thumbtack into his leg to do that. So it's not easy. It's not, he was in pain. But if you can listen, and maybe it'll be different and maybe it won't, but don't shut down who you're talking to, your mentor. You don't say, well, we tried it once, it's not in the budget, blah, blah, blah. Just listen and pursue it a little, because maybe you tried something and a year later, all of a sudden it works. And there's a lot of ways to do the same thing. So it's a difficult skill to be a mentee. So that's what a good listener means.
Excellent.
I could also add that you know, there are folks out there starting out, or they've been in business for a long time. Doesn't matter. To find a mentor, they have a banker. All they have to do is ask the banker to recommend a mentor. Everybody has a banker. Everybody has an insurance agent. They might have a lawyer, hopefully for the good reasons.
Yeah.
Just start asking who they might recommend would be a good person.
But we have to quote Ray Pittman: your mentor is not your lawyer, your anybody, insurance man, whatever. It's or your brother-in-law. It's somebody that will say, you're an idiot. This is dumb. Don't do it. It's somebody who has no axe to grind. Your insurance man's not going to tell you you're an idiot. He doesn't want to lose your business. So you got to have somebody that'll be totally honest. And remember, so many people, and it's really hard to get straight answers, especially when your name's on the door. If you're the entrepreneur, I don't want to make the boss mad. I don't want to get fired. We have what we call the 3 magic questions, and they're not really magic. They don't always work, but here's what they are. What are you doing that I like? You like? What are we doing you like? What are we doing you don't like? What are we not doing you would like? But you've got to get somebody who has absolutely no axe to grind and tell them, look, you know, I want you to level with me. And I've seen too many cases where that didn't happen and some really serious disasters ensued.
Talk a little bit about your comfortability with taking on a mentor. I mean, letting somebody in. I mean, we're talking about, even Gary, you said that you were skeptical when your mentor came around. You wondered, okay, what do you really want from me? Talk a little bit. I'd love to hear from both of you about how did you let them in, and how long did that take?
Well, you know, I'm the last person to ask for help as well, and so you know, and historically, I grew up in the inner part of Kansas City, so historically, somebody always did want something. You know, it was usually a trade or a negotiation of some type that was going to happen. So you know, I automatically went there, I guess. It did, but one of the things that I think that really came out of that is by taking that first leap of trust, you know, and having trust in someone. Mm-hmm. And with Ray, it came a complete open trust. You know, we could talk about anything, anywhere, complete open trust relationship. And I think, you know, if you can develop a complete open trust relationship, what that taught me is that I could trust other people. You know, I'm still cautious, but I can still trust other people. Yeah. And, you know, and I can still ask for help when I need it. Yeah. You know, before I never could ask for help. Now I will. I'll be the first one. In fact, one of our mentors that we have, I was traveling with Barnett, and he was making a speech, and I heard him make the speech a couple of times, and I said, I need to learn more about that. I grabbed him, made him my mentor for a few months, you know, because I wanted to learn more about that and how it worked. I wanted to help. Yeah. And so, you know, today, I think it teaches you to want to have help. I think entrepreneurs, like, you know, what Christina, who manages all of us, she says it's like herding cats. And so, you know, and there's a lot of truth to that, you know, because we're all type A people going our own way, going our own direction, and you know, and for us to stop and say we need help is not an easy thing for us to do. Right. This organization has taught me to do that, and I've asked for help in other things in my life.
Well, Laura, you talked about you're not alone, and of course, when it comes down to it, of course, you have to be responsible for managing and growing your business and making sure that if you can't read the accounting, that you can still show up the next day at work. Mm-hmm. But I love that notion that you're not alone. You're not alone in this endeavor. There are others who are experiencing many of these same things. It's
like having a baby. When it comes right down to it, there's nobody else having that baby but you, right? I mean, you have to make the tough decision, so you have to have the faith and the confidence. You have to have self-confidence at some level. If you don't, as an entrepreneur, you're pretty much in trouble.
What also helps, you know, I used to look in the mirror, and we were having some really bad times, and I thought, you're so dumb, you'll never be successful. And then I got around a bunch of, quote, successful people, and I thought they were as dumb as I was. So I thought, hey, I might as well do it. You know, they're not.
It's true.
You need a little timing, a little luck, people that'll help you, people that'll talk to you. And, you know, most of us, I kind of always admired people that are arrogant, because I thought, God, that'd be great. Because you wouldn't you have too good a memory of all the dumb things you've done. If you were arrogant, I thought, boy, I envy that guy. I think that's great. Most of us remember too much, and we dwell on the dumb things and not the good things. And that's really self-defeating. I haven't learned how to get rid of that, but it's a waste of time. Yeah. And these people are out there to help you. And again, it's all these unlimited, renewable, cost-free resources that are out there to help you. And you have to be convinced of that and just call up Gary, you say, Gary, I got a new business. Would you talk to me for 15 minutes? Well, Gary's probably flattered.
If you get into the shoes, if as a new entrepreneur or someone who's looking for a mentor, if you get into the shoes of someone who's been around the block,
Right.
you can understand for a second that they really do want to give back. That's part of their journey. That's part of the legacy that they want to give and to continue to feel important and be able to give back. When I made that connection and figured out that people really wanted to help, they weren't just like hands out, what do you want from me, whatever. It made a big difference. I got it.
That's great. We have our listening audience. Several people have asked questions, and the question I love the most is so talk about what is hemp. So we've been hemp is the something hilarious, something perfect, something unfortunate acronym for the Helzberg Entrepreneurial Mentoring Program. So that's the hemp in this story.
And it is addictive, but it is legal.
Right.
Even in Missouri.
Even in Missouri.
Even in Missouri.
You don't have to go to Colorado.
So I had to take a moment just to answer the what is hemp, but that's what it is. There are several questions, and so one of them, and it kind of gets back to Michelle's point about we're seeing more and more people become entrepreneurs, even as in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. And so one question says, can you ask for a mentor at any age? In your 50s, should you be a mentor in your field? Or should you find a mentor in your field, or can it be somebody general? And a couple of people have asked that question.
I want to talk about that. In almost 19 years, we have only matched one person up with somebody in their industry. I think generally, why? Well, number one, we couldn't do it if we wanted to. But number two, Mr. Kauffman, he didn't know anything about retail. He told me, he said, do you know what turnover is costing you? Well, he got me so upset. It was up to $50,000 a person when somebody left the company. Are you analyzing it? I mean, he knew business. People in your business, they know what's not possible. People not in your business, they don't know any better. I've got a doctor who is very interested. I'm really hoping he'll join. We don't have any doctors, and you don't want somebody in your business. That's a common fallacy. You don't, because they know too much. They know what's not possible. You're not interested in what's not possible. You're trying to break new ground.
Those people in your industry could be part of your forum group, or it could be an industry association that furthers certain aspects of your business. But when you're talking about a mentor, you're talking about someone that can help you to build you as an entrepreneur, as a leader. So if you see someone that you admire as a leader, I don't care if they're 22 or 122, approach them. I admire you as a leader. I'm wondering if we could chat and have coffee. That's all I want from you.
What's a forum group?
A forum group.
What is that?
Oh, you're right. A forum group is really just a group of people that you put together and you throw out common business problems that you're each having, hopefully in a confidential setting, so that they can provide their experience to you. It's kind of a group mentorship, but that could be more industry focused. Your mentor should be someone that you connect with, whatever your business.
There's a very interesting question, and I actually want to read the question, but it has to do with paying a mentor. Okay, so the question says this: talk about the topic of payment for mentoring. There is a cost to participate in the Helzberg program, and as a small business that doesn't qualify for this type of program, I've been getting advice from coaching businesses, but feel that while I get good advice and contacts with the needed professional services, sometimes I'm not getting anything more than what I want to hear. There have been one or two times that I've found someone I would like to ask for mentoring, but I worry that they should somehow be compensated. What is the expectation or the tradition for compensation in the mentor-mentee relationship?
Well, our mentors are not paid, nor do they pay. When they quit being mentors, most of them become fellows, and then we make them pay. So our mentors get nothing in dollars. I really believe in, number one, on the way back from your meeting, you drop a note at the post office. You send them little things. I send out peanuts and say, you know, that was worth more than peanuts. I'm a peanut freak. And and I think being thoughtful, being appreciative, we pay our mentors nothing, and they find it priceless, many of them. So I don't have any experience on paying a mentor.
She's asking, though, should she, if she doesn't qualify for him, because she's not that far in her business, would you recommend, is that another way to get a mentor? I think that's what she's saying.
She could
Pay for coaching.
Pay for coaching.
Well,
Coaching is different
but
than mentorship.
I still think if you go to people you respect, I don't know. I somehow feel
To me,
it's tarnishing.
Yeah,
I feel.
it's now I truly am understand what's in it for you. I'm going to pay you. So that's not a mentor.
Right.
That's coach.
Right.
That's
I mean,
fine.
if I call Gary or Laura and say I'm starting a business, I find people who have started businesses I'm trying to, how many of them are going to turn me down? It's a very emotional thing. I don't, this is a little extreme. I'm a black and white guy. I was going to say, if they want to be paid, it may be the wrong person.
Yeah. Well, and I would say that, and I think it's an important designation, and maybe what you're all saying, the difference between a business coach and a mentor. The business coach is running a business coaching business.
Right.
And so there's a fee. A mentor is a different animal altogether.
Correct.
And I think that's an important note for the
If you didn't know how to use QuickBooks, or if you needed,
Right.
if you found that you were diabetic, you would consult someone to give you the information that you need to know to fill in the holes that you don't have. And hopefully you're a good enough entrepreneur, it sounds like this person is, that they realize what they don't know.
right.
So you could go and pay for that. But what I think we're saying is that a true mentor-mentee relationship, really there's no money that pays. There's a different kind of currency.
Well,
that is
what
not dollars.
mentors will tell you, it's like having a grandchild. You know, so Ray Pittman came to Gary's place every week, but then he left. It was Gary's problem. So it's like having a grandchild, and it's
Giving them back.
some of the joy, and
You get all the
I don't know
joy.
that Gary was always a good grandchild, but anyway, I don't like the money idea. I think it's the wrong person. It's somebody who is excited and really wants your success, and I don't think it's a money thing at all, frankly.
My mentor, the one thing he gave me that I needed is he spoke confidence into me.
Yeah.
He told me in our second meeting that I was one of the most impressive people he ever met, and I thought he was lying. And but he convinced me that I was to him. And when he did that too, I mean my confidence just went through the roof.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I want to come back to a topic we've already covered, but so many people have asked additional questions that I think it bears repeating. The question was about industry-specific mentors, and you talked about a forum group. Several people, and here I'll just read one of these questions, and it will speak to several of the others. This entrepreneur says, I know one person operating in the same business that I'm opening, and I'm hesitant to ask questions regarding the business. Should I approach that person? So can you talk a little bit about that? Other people have said, will they view me as a competitor? Do you think they'll be honest with me?
You know, I have that happen to me a lot. And I've, over the years, at first it kind of, I was kind of taken aback, but now my response is, well, I'll tell you my response in a second, but to that person with that question, I would say be very upfront and be very cognizant of the fact that this person's probably not going to open up their books to you. They're probably not, they're likely they wouldn't tell you something that's going to make you fail, but I would be very upfront. I'd say, look, I'm opening a similar business. I'm wondering if you would mind to chat with me a little bit. If you don't, I understand.
Mm-hmm. Are they people in your city, or are they people outside your city who are asking these questions?
I had one person who actually taught for me for several years who came to me and said, I just want to let you know I'm opening up the same thing that you are. And I said, I wish you the best. Now, inside of me, I know that no normal person would do this. It's too much work. Yeah. But I thought, there's nothing that I can do to stop that.
No.
There's nothing. So the best thing I could do is to create an ally. And no, at that point, I did decide I wasn't going to, he couldn't have access to certain things because he would be a direct competitor.
Sure.
Now, someone from another city, I've had that happen several times where they call and say, man, I really love what you do. My mom goes to your place, whatever. And I'll say, give me a buzz. Let's chat. I still don't open up my books at that level. That's probably just the attorney in me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do give them confidence, and I tell them it's going to take tenacity, or it's going to take this or that. Are they prepared for that? So
that's great. That's great. Very helpful. Let's see. There's another question about sort of hemp-like programs on a smaller scale, and I really think there are two questions in this. The first one, are there programs nationally, internationally, even local, but outside of Kansas City that you know of that are like hemp, or has hemp been cloned in any way that others can take a look at? So that's the first question.
Well, there's one in Grand Rapids, Michigan called JEM, Gender Entrepreneurial Mentoring. I've wondered this and obviously gone to the internet a lot. I think so. And of course, some of these things are, well, and we charge a fee. I think if you just get some like people and create a network, one of the secrets of this thing is the consistency of people. Frankly, we've had a few rare cases of people where we have a couple of big parties, and the mentees are required to have the meetings with the mentors on a regular basis and come to 75% of the meetings Gary was mentioning. But these people were, I guess, retired or whatever, fellows, and they'd come once a year. And I really didn't like that because I felt whoever was with them was on the entertainment committee. In other words, the reason I can talk to Gary and tell him my problems in our new business, I see him all the time. I'm used to him. It's the same people. So if you start a little forum group, which I don't really agree with Laura about the same industry, I'm sorry. But anyway, it's the same people. And that is priceless because then you develop relationships, trust, and that works. And if you're lucky, you trust them all. If not, you know who you do, and you can talk to them one-to-one. So,
one of our listeners actually wrote in response to this question saying that SCORE provides free mentoring from 360 plus chapters around the country. So thank you, Ken, for sharing that information. And that's a great example. And actually that kind of speaks to the second question, which was if I'm a startup or a very small company, how can I participate in a program like this?
Yes, and some of our members were helped by SCORE.
Some
of our mentors came from SCORE.
Oh, wonderful.
Now, that's great. That's a great example.
We have time really just for one more question, and I'm gonna selfishly steal the question here, and that is, in my career, what I've discovered is that there is, I believe, great benefit to informal mentoring relationships, and even Gary, you mentioned that Barnett said something to you one time, and so you asked him to be your mentor for a few months because there was something valuable that you wanted to learn from him. Contrast informal mentoring, which I define as you have several people in a pool and you reach out to them when you need them, and you may need them for different reasons, versus something like hemp where it's very formalized. I mean, people come to your office once a week at 7 o'clock on Monday morning. So talk a little bit about the difference, and can both be effective?
Well, today I'm sitting by Mike Panzik, who started a co-op with all these cable TV guys, and I started telling him about our new business and asking him questions. And he said, well, let's have lunch. Let's do it. And my partner, Dave, came over, and we're going to have lunch. So that's very, very important, what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that can even develop into the longer term. Maybe you'll learn about the people.
Well, and there's no cost. It's not a program. It's a relationship, which I think goes back, Laura, to your earlier point about these human interactions.
The question before and this question as well, you can tell people kind of think that this is more formal.
Yeah.
And it has a formal component to it, right? We actually go through a period where we create that mentor-mentee relationship with one-on-one. But I can tell you it is also about the relationships you build and the ability to ask a lot of people, like I said earlier. It is, hemp is probably so successful because of that component.
Yeah.
And then that mentors understand their brokers.
Networking.
Yes,
It's
my favorite topic.
Yeah.
There's a great book out on that.
That's what I understand. I heard that. Coffee, lunch, coffee all the time. Well, thank you all so much. For me, this hour has flown by. I hope it has for you and all of our listeners as well. There are several questions that actually did not get answered, so I may come back to the three of you and ask
Can
you.
I ask a question of the listeners?
Yeah, please.
If there's any take-home value, pearls, let us know what resonated, what you're actually going to do. Have we given you any benefit, take-home benefit? You know, not that you enjoyed it and it was fun. What'd you really get, and what are you going to do about it? Did we help you?
Fabulous.
Thank you.
As I said, please, please, please let us know what those pearls are. I will share those back with Barnett and the hemp team. I will also ask our panelists to respond to some of the questions that did not get answered. And one of the things I had hoped to actually dig into the book, there's a wonderful checklist, sort of a mentor-to-mentee checklist that Laura put together that's at the back of the book. And so I would really encourage all of you, please, to consider purchasing the book. Again, just 99 cents on Amazon. This is not meant as a sales job. I get no commission for this. But I know for me it's proven very, very beneficial. So I want to thank the three of you for joining us today. Thanks so much. And I want to encourage all of you who are listening to join us next month. We will gather on Wednesday, February 12th at 10 a.m. Central Time to listen to Meg Hirschberg, who is the author of For Better or For Work, which is another wonderful, wonderful piece about managing the family relationships as how the family manages in an entrepreneurial relationship. I'll say it like that. So we look forward to talking with you in February and wish you a wonderful day and a wonderful month. Thanks so much.